Hello, YouTube. They combined elegant jewelry with heavy quivers and sharp daggers, prototypes of the same Amazons about whom the ancient Greek historian Herodotus wrote that they once lived, but the ones that we're speaking about today lived in the southern Urals. This is the conclusion reached by archaeologists of the South Ural State University. Scientists have studied local burials of the Sarmatian nomads from the 5th to the 3rd century BC, in which women were buried with weapons. And not just like that, they knew how to use weapons, participating in battles on par with males. However, other amazing facts have also been revealed. In addition to conversations with scientists, Russian journalists from the Komsomolskaya Pravda Chelyabinsk edition turned to artificial intelligence. They asked the neuronal network to depict what the real South Ural Amazons looked like. Is there any truth in these vivid images? See the first and the last photos in my video. There are burials of nomadic women with weapons from the Danube River to the land of Tuva in the Russian Asia, and have been studied one way or another. But the southern Urals remained a little-known area, according to Natalia Berseneva, doctor of historical sciences, in an interview with the Chelyabinsk edition of the newspaper. A senior researcher at the Center for Eurasian Studies of the University of South Urals, she formed a database of more than 500 graves and analyzed 24 of them. Weapons were next to each nomad. Rare daggers and even swords were eclipsed by quivers with arrows. They were much more often placed with deceased women. And for a reason, it means that all these weapons belonged to them and they knew how to use them, according to the Russian researcher. It is noteworthy that women's burials with weapons are found in the ranks and in the so-called royal burial mounds, Natalia continued. Therefore, it is unlikely that the warriors formed a separate social stratum by the type of their squad, military unit. Rather, they joined the ranks of the men's units or learned to protect the house and children during their absence, and the craving for weapons was determined by personal desire, the level of aggression, and hormones. By the way, there were not many such Amazons on the territory of the southern Urals. The analysis showed that only about 13% of women are buried with weapons, and most of them are aged 25 to 35 years. The scientist was especially surprised by the size of some quivers. They were literally the size of a bucket. Imagine that. 150 to 200 arrows were found in them, whereas their number in the burials of early nomads in other territories does not exceed 20 to 30 pieces. This is what makes the southern Trans-Urals different. Local nomads did not have a shortage of metals, including precious metals. According to Alexander Tairov, director of the Center for Eurasian Studies of the same university, he was engaged in the excavation of women's graves near the village of Kichigino in the Uvelsky district and noted the wealth of burial equipment. These are, in addition to powerful quivers, status ornaments of warriors, gold and silver pieces and bars that were used for money, and rings. It is obvious that the Sarmatians had to defend the right to own a valuable resource in battles. However, it is not necessary that women buried with weapons participated in them, according to that scientist. Ethnographically attested cases say that often the deceased were conductors or transmitters of things to another world, explains the doctor of historical sciences. Things could have been overlooked and not placed in the male's grave, or it was simply not possible to put the same quiver with arrows. Then it was laid with the deceased, so that she would hand it over to the warrior in the next world. At the same time, early nomads of southern Urals had combat injuries. Yegor Kitov, a senior researcher at the Institute of Ethnology and Anthropology of the Russian Academy of Sciences, discovered a triangular shaped through hole in the woman's zygomatic bone. Probably it was from a three-bladed arrowhead. A single case was recorded in the burial of the Orenburg region. In general, the early Sarmatians do not have a very large percentage of injuries. They are difficult to reconstruct from one bone. If the arrow hit soft tissues or there was a knife wound in the stomach, we will not see this. It is not necessary to unequivocally assert the existence of nomadic Amazons. That's what the anthropologist explained to the correspondent of Komsomolskaya Pravda. However, the ubiquity of women's burials with weapons throughout Eurasia still reflects the realities of their lives, Natalia Berseneva believes. In favor of the Ural Amazons, in her opinion, there are examples of modern Turkic and Mongolian nomads when, if necessary, women could replace men in battle. A century-old discussion about the warriors of the early Iron Age remains open. Excavations continue, new data for study appear every year. There is a lot of work, scientists emphasize. University of Southern Urals archaeologists intend to go further, to trace the role of the Southern Trans-Urals in the system of global interregional relations, from the Altai to the northern Black Sea region, from the Bronze Age to modern times. And who knows, maybe the artificial intelligence did not make a big mistake, and the South Ural Amazons somehow looked like these fantasy images. They were the same beauties with scars on their skin who would preserve the household and stand up for it in battle. And let me add this. Mention of the Amazons in the war is in the Scythian legends. One of them preserved the story of the battle of the steppe, savanna, plains, people with some unknown army that stole horses and other cattle. The Scythians chased the enemies for a long time. Having overtaken them, they killed all the kidnappers in a fierce battle, having lost a lot of their own soldiers. When they began to examine the corpses, it turned out that they were at war with women. It was like an insult. The Scythians never fought with women. It was humiliating to them. Then the elders of the Scythians sent a detachment of young warriors to hunt down the Amazon camps. The brave warriors kept the Scythian youth away from them, hitting them with arrows from a long distance. However, over time, the Amazons got used to the neighborhood of the Scythians and no longer engaged in battle with them. It came to the point that some Amazons got together with the Scythians, males, and became their friends. A people called Sarmatians came about, in which the equality of women and men was sacredly honored. Interestingly, the Amazons treated the local women with disdain, believing that they did not know how to do anything and didn't do anything. The ancient legend is confirmed by archaeological finds. Items of military equipment and weapons were found in Sarmatian graves. And these things belong to the warriors who, along with men, made up the military elite of the Sarmatian tribes. The Sarmatians helped the Scythians to repel the invasion of the Persians when the army of King Darius advanced on the steppes. As for my research into the subject of mysterious Amazons of Eurasia, please see my video about it. I think you will like the subject. You will find it fascinating. Few people really know about the Amazons from faraway Eurasian lands, and I spent a few years studying this. Actually, I was looking for a producer for the story of the Czech Amazons by the way, and maybe one day we'll find one, maybe in the not of the Hollywood of today, which I disdain, but in the future it might change. It will be a great motion picture. And do understand, the women warriors had to be extremely strong and agile, capable fighters in the age of real physical strength and constant battles for survival, often in the wilderness, under very harsh conditions. And please also see my video where I describe in part the Amazons of ancient Ukrainian lands. I want to thank you for your attention to my work, and I ask that you please support me if you can. You will see links on how to do it in the description to this video. As well, you will see the links to the videos that I mentioned about Amazons, my previous work. And please tell others about my channel. Please like my videos.